Austin, you were talking about the products that you had made that you had to take off the shelves. Just curious, is there any type of testing that you do after these ingredients are added and then all put together? Do you do any type of testing on that? I mean, I'm just curious.
We would require, in this particular case, a COA or certificate of analysis for the incoming ingredients before we would bring them into the facility, so that if there was a potential that there was something harmful included, we would not bring them into the facility, number one. The testing after the fact is unlikely to find things. You really want to test it proactively. So we did have certificate of analysis on the incoming PCA ingredients that indicated that they tested negative for salmonella. Otherwise, we never would have used them.
In this testing, I'm assuming y'all have turned over that information to whoever's investigating this, that certificate?
No, we've not. I don't think they've gotten into our facility to look at that. I think they looked at the documentation in Blakely.
But
we did.
But you got a certificate,
yes,
right?
Yes.
That's interesting that they haven't contacted some of those looking for some of those certificates.
And I think it was alluded to as well, testing, particularly in this case, if you have an intermittent problem, you're not going to necessarily find everything by testing. It
Right.
goes back to practices.
Yep.
It goes back to culture. And
Yep.
that's what we rely on. There has to be some degree of trust throughout the supply chain. And there's a certain amount of that trust that you put in your vendors and suppliers, and those are the same kinds of trust that they need to have of us.
How long had you been doing business with PCA?
Probably no more than 2 years.
Mr. Kaler, let me ask you, the peanut industry is very supportive of food safety, right? I mean,
Absolutely. It's, what we had was a bad actor that took a very short-term view. But, we've got a product that we can go out and we can tell folks that it's good and good for you. And it's a long-term proposition for us. And the only way that we can have long-term health as an industry is to be sure that what we put out there, the mother that feeds that to a child, or in my case, the grandfather that feeds it to his grandsons, knows that that product's safe and that it's good and that it's the best that it can be.
And is it not true that whether you're a peanut farmer or a tomato farmer, that your job is to grow the crop and to make sure that it's the best product it can be, and then you take it to the processing plant, and from there it's up to them, and that you certainly have the interest of the consumer at heart and want to make sure that that's the best product that can come out of what you produce. Is that true?
Even though the farmer sells to a buying point that sells to a peanut sheller that then sells to a company like PCA or a major processor, we're 4 spaces removed, but if the consumer won't eat that product, then it impacts us too. So, and it doesn't matter whether it's peanut farmers or whatever. Food safety is all of our issue in the agricultural system in this country. And
you mentioned that this could be up to $1 billion on the peanut industry. Is that just dealing with the growers, or is that the total industry?
What the multiplier number looks at is the total economic impact, but on growers, almost $500 million right there.
And Ms. Vanko, I want to thank you for what you do. I've had the opportunity to both work on a dairy farm and to go out and visit them, and you earn your money. And I want to thank you for doing that, because that's it's a very worthwhile way of life, and I want to thank you and your family for doing that. So with that, I'll yield back.